the donut operator thing, and I was just trying to convey how difficult it was to save somebody's life when they're drowning. I didn't do it for accolades. I didn't do it to pat myself on the back. Like, I know what I did. I was there. I don't need the accolades. It's not going to help my cryptocurrencies get any higher, so I don't give a fuck. If it doesn't affect my paycheck, I don't give a fuck about it. Or it doesn't affect how much money I got in the bank, honestly, I don't even give a fuck about it anymore. So, a couple of people, I don't know, there was somebody who had a Eagle Globe and Anchor, made a kind of a snarky comment, oh, way to pat yourself on the back. I'm like, I wasn't patting myself on the back, I was trying to stick up for the officers, and the whole thing about, you know, if you jump in the water to try to save somebody from drowning, if you haven't been properly trained and you aren't in like peak physical condition, you are gonna fucking die. You are gonna drown. I mean, I kind of recognized her because I had kind of seen her. I knew that I kind of recognized her, so I thought she was a friend of somebody with the band. I'm like, oh, hey, how you doing? Can I, you know, do you want a cigarette? And she goes, you don't remember me? And I was like, I don't know. She goes, I'm the girl whose life you saved in Lake Havasu. And then she goes on for like 3 full minutes. Remember you jumped in, I was drowning and my boyfriend wouldn't help me and I was gonna die and you jumped in and you saved me. So anyway, so I get to the end, literally to the end, when you're talking about somebody gets to the end of their rope, I got to the end and I'm like, fuck, I can just pull myself back to the boat and hopefully we can get the boat started in time that this guy doesn't panic and drown. But I was like, no, I can't do that. So I let go of the rope. I swim over to and he's panicking. They're never going to get the boat in time. They're never going to get it started. We're going to drown. We're going to fucking die. And I was like, so I stayed like 2 arms lengths away from him. Because any rescue swimmer, any lifeguard, anybody like that is going to tell you, look, when you first swim up to somebody that's active, especially if they're actively drowning, don't let them touch you. Because they will hold you underwater to keep themselves above the water. They will drown you, and then they will drown right after you. So you're not doing anybody any favors. If they grab a hold of you, you punch them in the face as hard as you can. Oh, there were 2 lesbian biker girls broke down on the side of the road. Aww. If only there was someone that they could call to help them. I'm not saying it would be a guy or not, but more than likely, they're probably like, I thought I told you to fill it up with gas. No, I thought I told you to fill it up with gas. Welcome back, everybody. Hey, I didn't even need a cold intro with stuff like that going on in the world. So anyway, been an interesting week. Doggone it, like everything is still down. Crypto's down, stocks down. Doggone it, Joe Biden, what the F is going on in this world? So, I wanted to feel better about my life. So I go and watch police shooting breakdowns. Because that's what I do. I'm like, hey, you know what? No matter what bad happened this week, I didn't do anything crazy that caused the police to shoot me. So I'm watching Donut Operators. I love Donut Operator. I love his mustache. He seems like a pretty good guy. Former police officer. But it is like these police breakdowns. So I was watching, like, it was a live stream, so it was multiple different breakdowns. And I made a comment because some of these officers got, I don't know if they got suspended with pay or without pay, or they're just under review, because they wanted to question this homeless guy for whatever reason. And so he climbs over the barrier between the sidewalk and the river. And the cops are like, hey, come on, man, you don't want to... Come on, just talk to us, buddy. We're just, we just want to talk to you. We just want to find out what's going on. And then he's like, nope, going for a swim. So the homeless guy jumps in the river. Or the lake, whatever it was. It wasn't like there was a current or anything like that. It looked like there was a current, but that was just overflow from stuff. It was like, trust me. Okay, when I was in the Marine Corps, part of one of my collateral duties in the infantry was being a scout swimmer. So, in the Marine Corps infantry, you get you have 15 different things you can do. And because we were MUSOC, which is Marine Expeditionary Unit, Special Ops capable, we were a boat company. So part of being a boat company is, you do boat raids. So you have to have scout swimmers. Those are the guys that, you park, 1,000 yards or so offshore. You swim in. You mark the landing zone so that when everybody else comes in, everything's safe. You secure everything. But another part of that is kind of a safety swimmer type. Like in the Navy, they have every ship will have a collateral duty where, hey, are you a good swimmer? Okay, fine, you're a safety swimmer. You go through training, you figure out how to learn the signs of when somebody is actively drowning. So I'm watching the video, and these cops are like, okay, well, you can go and swim off, but I can already see this guy is in distress within probably 20-30 seconds. Within 20-30 seconds, I can see he's actively drowning just off the badge cams. And people always think, oh, well, what's active drowning? Because people watch movies. And they think, oh, active drowning is your head goes under the water, you pop up, and then you go back under, and then you pop up. That's not what active drowning is. Active drowning, nobody's going to ask for help because they think they kind of got it. What active drowning is, well, let me give you a comparison. If you watch somebody treading water that's confident that they're not going to drown, you'll see probably half of their neck, and you will certainly see all of their chin. Somebody who's actively drowning, you'll see their chin right at the water line. And as those little waves lap up into their face, and they're coughing and choking and kind of have their head cocked back more because they're trying to, they're trying to keep their head literally above water, as opposed to somebody who's treading water, their head is straight forward, neck up, out, looking good. Somebody who's actively drowning is going to have their head, they're going to be more looking up towards the sky to try to keep that water. And the bad thing is that's the worst thing that they can do, because if you lean your head back, now your mouth is level with the water, and now you've sunk lower, so now you intake more water with every breath. So this guy's obviously within, I want to say, 20-30 seconds actively drowning. They don't know, they haven't been trained, they weren't safety swimmers or scout swimmers or whatever. They're just oh, look at this guy, he's fucking being an idiot. He jumped in there, he must know how to swim, he'll swim back to us. So I was watching Donut's video, and I had posted a comment about how difficult it is to actually save somebody who's drowning. There is an insane stat. I think when I was a scout swimmer in the Marines, I think they said 90% of people that jump in to save somebody from drowning end up drowning as well. I haven't checked the current stats, but if they held true back in the early 90s early mid-90s. I'm sure that they probably hold true today. There was an actress girl who drowned, and then they just found her baby sitting on the boat. She had rented a pontoon boat, so the baby's sitting on the boat, she drowned. More than likely what happened was the baby fell in the water, and she jumped in, had enough strength to get the baby out of the water and up on the boat, but by that time she had used up so much energy that she couldn't save herself. There was a dad just last year, jumped in to save his kid, almost the exact same thing. His kid fell in the water, started having problems. Dad jumps in, saves the kid, and then dad dies. And honestly, in my opinion, that's a good trade. You know what? If I can jump in the water and save my kid from drowning, to me, that I'll take that trade any day of the week. Even though I am a cold, heartless motherfucker. It's hard to find a good woman to make more babies with anymore. Back in the day, I used to say stuff like, I'll make another one. But it was like, hey, if you're with me now, that's some good stock. And good stock is hard to find nowadays. So, anyway, all of that is prelude to the story about how I saved 2 people from drowning. I consider it 3, although the third guy kind of was really holding his own. He just needed his hand held to keep him from panicking and actually drowning. So I just consider it as saving 2 people at the same time from Lake Havasu. So back in the late 90s, like right after I got out of the Marine Corps, I met some friends, and they were in a funk band, and they used to rent a houseboat every year, on like Memorial or Labor Day weekend, out in Lake Havasu. So what we do is everybody would pitch in like $200 or $300, and we'd spend like 3 or 4 days on a houseboat in Lake Havasu, and they would bring all of their band equipment, amps, drums, guitars, microphones. They would set up on the top deck, and then we would just cruise around Lake Havasu, having a great time. And if they weren't actually playing either covers or their own original stuff, we just blast like good music, like Prince. Aw, Prince. God rest your soul, baby. You're a great artist. Or like Jamiroquai was really hot back then. So we just, cruise around, and we'd all have like just boxes of beads and stuff. So, you throw the beads to the girls on the river, and they'd show you their boobs. Just fun stuff like that. So we were out there, and this one beautiful blonde girl. Oh, gorgeous. Could have been a model for sure. And her douchey boyfriend also could have been a model, except that he was like 5'8" with little short man complex. Good looking guy though, he's like, dark hair, perfectly groomed, 5'8", probably 160 pounds, muscles. You're gonna spend a lot of time in a gym, I gotta make these muscles. Anyway, I'm just hating on him a little bit because his girlfriend was freaking gorgeous. So, low body fat, because that's what's important. When you want to be a good-looking guy, you have to have low body fat. Well, what dummies that have low body fat and spend all their time on anaerobic activities like lifting weights don't understand is that when your dumbass jumps in the water, you're gonna fucking sink like a rock, and you're not gonna have the aerobics to be able to swim your way out of it. So his girlfriend couldn't swim very well, and so in Lake Havasu, the current kind of runs north to south, and we had rented, for whatever reason that year, like the boat that we had, the houseboat, had a shitty time trying to start. It was like being in a horror movie. Like if you needed the thing to start, you're like, oh my god, we're about to run into some rocks, and needed it to start, it would never start. And you'd be like, there, like, rear, rear, rear. Jason is gonna get you every time on this boat. If you were just like out in the middle of nowhere and you're like, all right, let's go, it would start right up and go. So, pretty girl and pretty boyfriend decide while the boat is stopped in the middle of the lake, it's hot, let's jump in the water. So it's a 2-story houseboat, and the wind is blowing from south to north. So the wind is holding the houseboat in place while the current is running north to south. So these two, they jump in, they're like, hey, let's cool off. The current carries them away from the boat. They get about 15, 20, 30 feet away from the boat, and she starts panicking because she can't swim that well. And I didn't realize this because I was up on the second deck, the band was playing, I was enjoying the music. Luckily, I wanted to run downstairs to grab a beer, so I run downstairs and I see a couple of my buddies like standing on the back deck of the boat, tying a rope to a life preserver. I don't know what they're doing. We're on Havasu. I look around, I don't see anything. It's like, whatever. So I go in the cooler, grab another beer. I barely open it, take one swig. I run back into them, and I hear her screaming, I'm drowning, I'm drowning, I'm drowning. And I'm like, what are you guys doing? They're like, oh, we're going to throw this to her. And I'm like, dummies, she's like 50 feet away. The wind is blowing at your face. You cannot throw that at her. And I was like, here, I literally said, here, hold my fucking beer. It's brand new. I want it that way when I get back. And I grabbed the life preserver that they had tied to a rope. I dive in the water, swim down current, which was easy, no problem. I give it to her and her boyfriend, who they're both gassed. They are both about to fucking drown. Then I start swimming back upstream because I'm like, okay, well, I'll swim back upstream to the boat, and then I'll grab the rope and help pull these guys in. And then there was somebody else that jumped in to save them. And I was like, oh, are you fucking kidding me? And he is legitimately actively drowning because he had gassed himself out by trying to swim to them and trying to swim back to the boat. So now he's trying to swim up current, and he's out of gas. He's a chunkier guy, not in very good shape. So I swim all the way back to the boat, and I go, throw me a rope, throw me a rope. They throw me a rope. I grab the rope, and I start swimming out to him. I'm like, hey, don't worry about it, don't worry about it. I run out of rope, no shit. And now I was faced with a dilemma. If I hold on to the rope, I know that guy's going to panic and drown. But I am gassed too, and I don't know how long I can tread water next to him, hopefully. Because there's no way I can save him. I already knew. I was so worn out from swimming against the current twice. I was so worn out that I was concerned that I wouldn't be able to make it. And I'm like, okay, well, you know what I can do is hopefully I can swim over there, keep him calm, so that he doesn't panic and drown. So I let go of the rope, and I'm like, dude, this is the dumbest mistake I've ever made in my entire life. In my entire life. Dumber than when I married one of my best friends from high school, George's sister. Not his wife, his sister. His sister, he told me, don't marry my sister, she's a fucking bitch. But I didn't listen to him. Married her. She took me for like 80 grand when I was in the Marine Corps, making like, I don't know, $400 every 2 weeks take home. Well, you do the math on that one. So anyway, so I get to the end, literally to the end. When you're talking about somebody gets to the end of their rope, I got to the end and I'm like, fuck, I can just pull myself back to the boat, and hopefully we can get the boat started in time that this guy doesn't panic and drown. But I was like, no, I can't do that. So I let go of the rope. I swim over to him, and he's panicking. They're never going to get the boat in time. They're never going to get it started. We're going to drown. We're going to fucking die. And I was like, so I stayed like 2 arms lengths away from him. Because any rescue swimmer, any lifeguard, anybody like that is going to tell you, look, when you first swim up to somebody that's active, especially if they're actively drowning, don't let them touch you. Because they will hold you underwater to keep themselves above the water. They will drown you, and then they will drown right after you. So you're not doing anybody any favors. If they grab a hold of you, you punch them in the face as hard as you can. And it's actually, honestly, it's easier to save somebody who's unconscious than somebody who's drowning, because they're not flailing around so much. You knock them out, you roll them over on their back, you grab their wrist, you turn it to where their body is, on their back, and you can tow them all day long. So I get over to him, and he's like, I get about 2 feet away, and I'm like, hey buddy, look, we're not gonna drown, they're gonna get it started, you're fine. So, but in the back of my head, I'm going, we're gonna fucking drown. 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 Why did you let go of that rope? Why did you let go of that rope? We're gonna fucking drown. But outwardly, I'm saying, don't worry, bud, we're fine. And meanwhile, I'm going, I'm actively drowning. I'm actively drowning. I'm actively drowning. Because I'm trying to tread water, and the water is hitting me in the chin, and I'm holding my head back. I'm going, I'm actively drowning. I'm actively drowning. And I'm like, hey, buddy, why don't we try swimming towards the boat? So, because it's easier to swim than it is to tread water. If you're going this way, you're fine. You have buoyancy, you're okay. Once your feet start sinking, you are fucked. Because you are fighting this. So all of this is going on in my head, and I'm panicking, but then all of a sudden, my Marine Corps Scout swimming training kicks in, and it's like, hey, you need to start moving forward, or any direction. So I tell them, I'm like, hey, let's start swimming towards the boat, they'll get it started, but look, it's going to be easier on us. So we both start, going from the panicky, active drowning to like a nice little, initially a doggy paddle, and then we're breaststroking, and I'm like, okay, let's just breathe. Look, we're fine. Just breathe, breathe, breathe. So then they finally get the boat fired up, and they bring it back. Now, mind you, everybody is a friend of a friend in this situation for, during whatever capacity. So, like 2 years later, I was a sales manager at this company up in LA. In our building was a Lufthansa reservation office. So they take people from all over the world. They employ them at the Lufthansa, reservations for making, air travel, whatever. So there's this gorgeous South African girl. Personally, I think better looking than Charlize Theron, but with brown hair. Pretty nice, cute girl. So I asked her out on a date because that weekend, my buddies that were on the boat, that band was playing at the Whiskey A Go-Go in Hollywood. Which is funny because we just did the Whiskey Hotel. We just did the HVAC for the Whiskey Hotel in Hollywood. So, funny how everything kind of works full circle. So, I just started like, hey, my friends are playing in Hollywood. Would you like to go out? We'll go out to dinner. We'll go up there. We'll go see them. And, have a good time. At the time, I used to smoke cigarettes. And this girl did too because she was from South Africa. And in South Africa, they're a lot more free about what you're allowed to do with your body. Like, they let them smoke cigarettes in South Africa. Even through apartheid, I think they even let the black people smoke cigarettes. They weren't that evil. So she agrees. So I pick her up in my convertible BMW. Because that's what you do as a sales manager. You buy a convertible BMW. Actually, I love convertibles. I've always loved convertibles. My Jeep, convertible. So I pick her up, and then we go up to the whiskey, and we got there a little early. There's another band playing, and we had a couple drinks and watching the other bands, and so we go outside. We're like, hey, let's go outside and have a cigarette. So we're standing out in front of the whiskey having a cigarette, and this gorgeous blonde girl, like, I thought she was beautiful with no makeup and just in a bikini. Holy cow. So she's made up to go out for a night in Hollywood. Makeup on, hair, long blonde hair curled beautifully. I was like, so she walks up to us. And in Hollywood, it's no big deal. Actually, in any club, it used to be no big deal if you're standing outside and, walk up to somebody. If you're just a casual smoker, hey, can I have a cigarette? I think I had already given out like 2 or 3 cigarettes at that time. It was back before they costed $843 a pack. Thanks, Joe Biden and Gavin Newsom. But she walks up and she's standing there like looking at me, but she didn't want to interrupt because I was actually saying something to my girlfriend at the time, or my first date at the time. She was my first date at the time. So she walks up and she's just standing there waiting. And I go, oh, hi, how you doing? Would you like a cigarette? Because I didn't recognize her. So I was just assuming that, I kind of recognized her because I had kind of seen her. I knew that I kind of recognized her. So I thought she was a friend of somebody with the band. I'm like, oh, hey, how you doing? Can I, do you want a cigarette? And she goes, you don't remember me? And I was like, I don't know. And she goes, I'm the girl whose life you saved in Lake Havasu. And then she goes on for like 3 full minutes. Remember, you jumped in, I was drowning and my boyfriend wouldn't help me, and I was gonna die, and you jumped in and you saved me. And I didn't know what to say. So I said, oh yeah. I go, okay, so how you been? Like I just do it so often that I just don't even recognize people that I've saved. When I look back on it, like, my reaction was, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to react. I was like, because at the time I didn't honestly think anything of it. I was just like, oh, there's a person in trouble, you help them out, you know. I didn't think of, I didn't think anything of it. But it was nice because, like, I'm on my first date with this gorgeous South African girl who looks better than Charlize Theron but with brown hair. And it's our first date. And she's like, oh, remember you saved me and my boyfriend from drowning in Lake Havasu. And okay, so then we talked for about, she didn't even smoke either, but she hung out with us for like the next, like, I don't know, probably 5-6 minutes, and was just like, oh my gosh, thank you, and so it was very nice. And then no joke, like, she left because we always rented a charter bus to get everybody from Orange County up to Hollywood whenever there were shows. So that way nobody had to drink on the bus. Everybody would crash at my buddy Lyman's house in Garden Grove. But I was living in El Segundo at the time, so my date and I, obviously, we drove separately. So the bus showed up and everybody got there, and then we just kind of got distracted. And no shit, like, during like 20 minutes later, we went outside for another cigarette. She goes, did you pay that girl to say all that stuff about you? And I was like, which is funny because she was joking. Because you can't make that shit up. So, I was on the donut operator thing, and I was just trying to convey how difficult it was to save somebody's life when they're drowning. I didn't do it for accolades. I didn't do it to pat myself on the back. Like, I know what I did. I was there. I don't need the accolades. It's not going to help my cryptocurrencies get any higher. So I don't give a fuck. If it doesn't affect my paycheck, I don't give a fuck about it. Or doesn't it affect how much money I got in the bank? Honestly, I don't even give a fuck about it anymore. So, a couple of people, I don't know, there was somebody who had a Eagle Globe and Anchor, made a kind of a snarky comment. Oh, way to pat yourself on the back. I'm like, I wasn't patting myself on the back. I was trying to stick up for the officers, and the whole thing about, you know, if you jump in the water to try to save somebody from drowning, if you haven't been properly trained and you aren't in like peak physical condition, you are gonna fucking die. You are gonna drown. So, you know, especially if you're going bare hands, hand to hand. Like the first two I saved because I jumped in with a life preserver that was tied to a rope. The third guy, all I did was just talk to him. So like I said, that's like 2.5. He was definitely actively drowning. And I don't know if he would have drowned if I had jumped in or not. But if I had held on to that rope and saved my own ass, I don't think, regardless of how it turned out, if he lived and we got the boat started and we saved him, I don't think I could live with that either. I'd be like, dude, you're such a fucking pussy. You have the training, you have the stamina, you could have just swam over to him. You had a little bit more in the gas tank, you know you could have fucking done it. And on the other side of that coin, if I would have drowned, okay, well, that's fine. You know, I wouldn't have to live with the thought of, I left that guy fucking out there to drown. So, anyway, so everybody set me up on Donut's page. I got like over 700 likes on the comment, which is awesome because I don't have one video on my channel, I think, that has over 700 likes. I'm like, alright. And everybody kept asking, what happened at the end of the story? What happened at the end of the story? Alright, well, I'll tell you. What had happened was, so her and I dated for about 1.5 years, almost 2 years. I was super serious about her. I wanted to marry her. She was wonderful. She's from South Africa. And she was saying how wonderful it is to be here. And then she was like, oh, well, I'm going to go back to South Africa and visit my mom. And she had broken up just before she moved here. She moved here like, I don't know, maybe 8-10 months before she met me. And she was telling me about her boyfriend is like this big time drug dealer in Johannesburg. Even she was from Cape Town, but she worked in Johannesburg. And her boyfriend was a big time drug dealer in Johannesburg, and she's glad that she met me. She's a professional guy, you know, goes to work, no drugs, all this other stuff. And then she's like, oh, I'm gonna go to South Africa to visit my mom. And I was like, oh, awesome. Here, you know, let's book 2 tickets. Let's go. I'd love to meet your mom. And she was like, oh, well, you know, I kind of just need to do some soul searching. And I was like, oh boy, what the fuck? Already in my head, I'm going, oh, she wants to go back for that one last drug-induced hang out with the fucking party people before you settle down. So I think at the time I was 30, she was 28. And I think, but back then, AIDS was huge in South Africa. Huge. Like, literally, like, all of the people that were in the tribes in South Africa thought that if you got AIDS, you could cure AIDS by raping a virgin. And so that's what they would do. Like, all these people that were in, like, the tribes, they would find out that they were in AIDS, that they had AIDS, and they would go and break into, like, rape kids that were, like, 12 or 13. Because they thought that's how you cure AIDS. This is stuff that she told me. So, I don't know if it's true, but anyway. AIDS was rampant in South Africa. So she went back to South Africa without me. You know, and this, I mean, we had cell phones, but it was really before texting. So she would call me, like, you know, every couple of days or so. Oh yeah, everything's going okay, everything's going okay. And then I was supposed to pick her up at the airport. Bought her this big ass, like 6-foot, fluffy stuffed teddy bear. Thing was like huge, and a bunch of roses. And then when she lands, she goes, "I'm just gonna take a cab home." That's like a $150 cab ride from LAX to her house. And I was like, "Well, I was gonna pick you up." She goes, "No, I'm tired, and I just don't want you to pick me up." Like, I had, like, my apartment was like decked out with candles, big ass stuffed teddy bears sitting there, and I had flowers on my desk because as soon as she landed, I worked right across the street from LAX. As soon as she landed, I was going to take my flowers, run over there, my roses, run over there, meet her off the airplane, you know. No, then the next day she's like, "Oh, we need to talk," and I was like, "Oh, fuck." So I think what happened was, I think that she got into the drugs and fucked her ex-boyfriend when she was back at Johannesburg visiting her mom. And of course it was too soon to get her AIDS test results, which honestly, I will grant her that. At least she didn't, you know, potentially expose me to AIDS. But I already know. I was like, I already know what happened. She went back there, she got into drugs, got with her ex-boyfriend, and I was like, alright, well, bye, Felicia.
Always trying to smoke up somebody's shit. The hell on, Felicia.
I'm gonna remember that.
Remember it. Write it down. Take a picture. I don't give a fuck.
Craig.
Bye, Felicia.
Which, to end on a fun note, that Felicia Sonmez, or Numbnuts, whatever the hell her name is, from the Washington Post, who tried to get that Ron Jeremy looking dude fired from the Washington Post. She sued the Washington Post because she got drunk and screwed some other guy, and then after she woke up in the morning with buyer's remorse, she had that guy fired, and then she's gotten like 3 or 4 other people fired, and then she sued the Washington Post because she claimed that she was a victim of sexual violence or whatever, so they wouldn't let her cover stories with sexual violence because she wouldn't be able to remain, you know, objective. She couldn't remain objective. Hey, look, if you're a victim, they do that same thing when you go to court. They say, hey, this is a domestic disputes case. Have you ever been a victim of domestic abuse? And if you have, they don't let you serve because you can't remain objective. So, anyway, she got fired. She like the worst kind of asshole, like cry bully, gets other people fired because she doesn't like their opinions. So, anyway, the week ended on a good note. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this story. If you did, please like, comment, subscribe, share, and I will see you next time. Bye. Hi, weirdo. That was close.